What up, Gromies? Alright, check it out. Hey, yo, what up? The name is NerdGrows. I got the buttery turf flows of the way I make these herbs grow. This one's for all my tent homies and my earth hoes.
Yo.
What
are you doing, man?
What?
Start the podcast.
Alright. What up, y'all? Welcome to episode 24 of the NerdGrows podcast. We got a lot to talk about today. I'm trying to get back into the normal swing of things. I know the past couple episodes have been off schedule or special, or, you know, there was that one with BGG. Nah, that's actually one of the more popular episodes, so I see how much y'all like me. Hope everyone had a good 420. I'm not one to typically celebrate it. There's always something that's kind of stuck in my head about 420, and it's that, like, I don't view cannabis users as a homogenous group because there's all types of people that use it. And 420's always kind of felt like the stereotypical stoner event for me. Honestly, this is probably the first year where I saw that really wasn't the case. Coming from the growing side, because you think every other 420 in my life, I'm coming at it from the consumer side. So yeah, I decided to join in the festivities a little bit. As you saw, me and Grateful gave away a t-shirt and the mystery gift box, which congrats to our winners. That was Salty Crone and Master Yoda. So make sure to congratulate them if you see them around. Also, just to verify, because I did get a few DMs after that second reel, I wasn't actually blackout drunk. It was just good, you know, old-fashioned Hollywood movie magic. Now, so what really happened was, and I'll tell you about it more in a minute, but I got a new nectar collector on 420. When Grateful and I decided to give away the t-shirt, it was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing just because the turnout was so great and we loved that everybody was supporting us and everything, so we wanted to do a second prize. So when we decided to do that, I had just finished ripping some rosin, and one of the hits hit me wrong, and I got the hiccups really bad. So I was like, all right, I have to record this video, and I have the hiccups, so, like, how can I work this in, you know? So I was like, all right, I'll just pretend I'm drunk, and, you know, the hiccups will naturally play into that. But yeah, if I was that fucked up, I wouldn't be able to record the video and edit it and post it. I'm not that good. Shit. So yeah, I did pick up myself a little 420 present. The nectar collector I had previously was part of this, like, modular bong thing that I bought, where it was a silicone bong. It had a glass water chamber and all the pieces were glass, but it was made of silicone. There was a bowl head for weed. There was a banger for rosin. There was a little insert that you can put a vape into the bong and hit the vape. And then also you could take the mouthpiece of the bong off, attach a tip to it, and make it a nectar collector. So honestly, I haven't used any of the bong except for the nectar collector. I'm like, all right, if I'm using a nectar collector, I don't want to use this, like, tiny piece of silicone with a tip on it. I want to get an actual glass one. So I went, and they only had two at the shop by my house. I could have went to a bunch of other shops because they are popping up around me now. Just like your classic standard head shop, Bob Marley tapestries and shit. There's like 6 of them in my town right now. It's crazy. But the one I went to only had 2 nectar collectors in stock, and one of them was another silicone-based, like, a lot of removable parts and modular things. And I'm like, all right, I already kind of have that. But the other nectar collector they had was a regular glass nectar collector, but someone had sculpted a jack-o'-lantern around it out of, I don't know if it's like clay or ceramic. It's not blown glass, but it's really cool. The pumpkin's all bumpy and everything, so it won't roll off the table. It has an extra big tip, that's what she said, compared to other nectar collectors I've used, which is really nice because it actually heats up enough where I can take 2 hits without having to retorch it. So that's good. I'm usually never taking more than 2 hits at a time anyways. It's nice not having to run the torch twice. I probably have to run the torch twice as long, but I can do it in one sitting now. The other cool thing is the jack-o'-lantern has an open mouth, so, like, you can see the smoke going through his mouth and eyes while you're hitting it. It's just a really cool piece. The only thing I'm not super happy about is that the part where you put the tip in, so she said, is like frosted glass, and then obviously the tip is metal, and then it's not really sticking in there too well. I'm assuming as I use it more, it'll get, like, gunk up and resiny and it'll stick in fine, but right now just the frosted glass holding the metal in isn't enough. Once I hit it with the torch, the metal, I feel like, expands enough where the fit's a little more snug, but if it's cold, every time I pick it up, the tip just falls out of it. Is that a normal thing? I mean, but yeah, I hope everyone had a good 420, and thank you to everyone once again for entering the giveaway. That was like probably one of the most popular things Grateful and I have ever done in the. It's gonna sound weird because I feel like we've been making content together forever, and it's only been like 4 months. It's wild. I think Grateful and I have known each other like maybe 7 months at this point. Well, we've only been making content. That very first that 70 show parody reel, that was our first reel we put out together, and I want to say that was like 4 months ago. It's pretty crazy. So to switch topics a little, I'm going to start doing gardening this weekend, and I'll tell you about what a failure I've been so far. This is my first year planning a vegetable garden outside, so obviously I don't have the timing of everything down. So at this point, while waiting for it to get to the appropriate temperature outside, I've gone through like 2 full sets of seedlings. I don't know, but I'm assuming it's because they hit a point where they need to be transplanted, and then I don't transplant them. But it's been difficult. I came downstairs this morning and all of my seedlings were dead. I don't know what I've been doing wrong. I've just been watering them a little, trying to keep them water, try to give them light. So my plan now, it looks like on Sunday is going to be the first day where it's going to be consistently over 50 degrees at night. Or at least what I can see on the weather is like it's going to be over 50 as the low for like the next week and a half or something at the very least. So I plan on getting a lot of gardening done this weekend. So I think instead of doing Jiffy Pots again, especially when I can plant in like 3 days, I think I'm just going to run everything through the can. And then that way, by the time I can get the garden ready this weekend, everything should have tap roots and I should just be able to go from there. But I'm really excited. I went to like one of those discount stores last weekend and they had garden beds of like all different shapes and sizes and materials. So I got one that was wooden that's like 2x4 or 3x4, I think. And then I got a metal one that's a 2x4. And then I got a little plastic one that's like a 1x1, basically. I figure I could run like a couple small things in that. We already have the big raised bed in the yard, and then I have another little garden bed in the yard. As I said last week, I'm strategically placing the raised beds where there are weak parts in my fence, so the dogs can't dig under it, which currently we have tires and cinder blocks on those spots, which is good because I need those tires and cinder blocks for other projects. I don't know if it's a thing, but I feel like gourd plants work, like gourd style plants, so like melons and pumpkins. I think they work really well growing them in a tire because it lets them have like their own little nest and then they can spread out into the lawn and everything. So I'm probably going to use the tires for that. And then the cinder blocks I've actually dug out and have been rebuilding my fire pit. So those will come in handy as well. We're killing it. I put the net up on the trampoline so the little one can start bouncing for the summer. Very good. So yeah, the backyard's looking dank as fuck right now, but my front yard looks like shit. I haven't done anything yet. The hard part with yard work and having a small child is, yeah, we can be in the backyard together because there's a fence. I don't have to worry about him running into the street, but I can't be like elbow deep in soil in the front yard and him be halfway down the driveway, you know? Front yard work's typically on weekends where my wife is home and we have free time. I can sneak away from the little one for a bit. So also, this is my first full week of using the 4x4. It's going really well so far. It's nice not having to fill up 2 humidifiers, and the humidifier I have doesn't seem to be going down as fast. The only thing I haven't done is calibrated the lights since I'm using 2 2x4 lights. I know you can have like crossover and hot spots and stuff, but I haven't really looked into that yet. Everything seems to be fine. Like the plants don't seem to be getting burned or the leaves aren't angry that there's a certain amount of heat, but it's on my to-do list for this weekend. I currently have 3 earth boxes. Well, they're city pickers. Earthbox like a name brand, right? People say Earthbox the same way they would say Kleenex instead of facial tissue. But I have 3 earth boxes, city pickers, whatever you want to call them. And then kind of like my last run, which is so silly, but I really like it. I have a 5-gallon pot in a cement mixing tray so I can bottom water. And it looks silly, but I love it. It works really well too. Especially last run where I had multiple 5-gallon pots. I could just pick it up, move the tray over to the next one, fill it up. When they're done drinking, slide it over to the other one, fill it up. But right now, I only have 1 5-gallon pot, so I can just keep the cement tray under it. And the cement tray is like almost the same size as a city picker. So it fits perfectly. Everything's in there in a nice little 2x2 grid. Since we're on the topic, let's go over my plants at the moment. Not a whole lot going on. We have Mango Smile on day 34. and that thing is getting huge. It really shot off this week, and it's looking great so far. It's starting to get like pre-flower, like the little pom-poms and everything, and I feel like it's an adequate size for it to go into flower and be good, being an auto flower. Obviously, that's something I've struggled with in the past, is stunning plants and drastically reducing my yield. But I'm at the point where I'm becoming a more confident grower, and I can judge the size of the plant. So I think this one should be good to go once it gets some buds on it. I have Speedrun Ice Latte on day 28. All right, so I have Mango Smile on day 34 and Ice Latte on 28. So they're a week apart from each other, 6 days and a handful of hours apart from each other. And the Ice Latte is like half the size of the Mango Smile. That said, Mango Smile got huge this week, so I'm hoping the Ice Latte is going to shoot out in the next couple days. It already has, it's already doubled in growth multiple times this week, so I'm really excited about that. However, it's a little on the small side still, and I want to see it pop off a little bit more. Otherwise, looking very healthy. I have Night Owl Wizard Stash Remix on day 5. That's in a city picker, and I'm using that really thin, crappy stocking city picker cover, the one that comes with it, and it's awful. The top dries out almost instantly. I don't other than the slight protection from the light that the black cloth gives, it's so porous that there's no humidity control. There can't be. So it dries out really fast. However, I do have city picker cover coming in the mail. I'll tell you more about that next week when it comes in. That was my other little 420 gift to myself. Shout out to New Moon Grows. Then in the 5-gallon pot, I have Alabrije Permanent Holiday on day 2. It's probably day 3. In my days app, I probably set the hour to midnight or something instead of the time I actually noticed when it popped. But yeah, it's looking good. Just a little baby seedling at the moment, but everything's looking great. I'm really excited about this run, especially having it in the 4x4. I don't have to worry about 2 tents, 2 different setups, 2 different things going on. I think I'm going to do a 2-and-2 perpetual, because I believe that'll help with the humidity, and it's also just the way that it naturally happened, because when I got the 4x4, my 2x4 already had 2 plants going in it, and then I could start 2 more once I set up the 4x4. So it kind of just happened organically, pun intended. I also want to say thank you for everyone who's been watching our YouTube videos and giving us subs on YouTube. We've been working really hard on putting out informational and entertaining videos for you all. Grateful's been doing this awesome video series on how to prep for mushroom and mycology projects. It's been super interesting. That's a topic I really don't know anything about. So even just him sending me the footage and me editing the videos, I'm learning so much, which is awesome. And also, I took BGG's discussion of the different plant generations for breeding. I cut that out of the couple episodes ago when he did it, and I put it up as its own standalone video. So if you ever need that as a reference guide, go bookmark that. I know it's a video I'm going to be watching as I continue to buy seeds. I'll probably watch it every time before I buy seeds until I have it memorized. Speaking of BGG, his drop is coming up on May the 4th and May the 5th. So head over to greenguy_genetics on Instagram for more information, and make sure you're there for when the drop happens. BGG is a friend of the show. We're always excited when there's a new drop. I'm pretty sure, maybe with the exception of one, I think I've done every drop of his as long as I've been aware of his existence, which was 1976. No, I was kidding. In the, it's April, so I've been growing for 8 months, 9 months maybe. And I didn't even meet people online for the first couple months I was growing. I just bought Mephisto, bought an AC kit, and I had a friend teaching me how to grow. So yeah, I'm sure most of you are already following Green Guy on Instagram, but if you're not, go hit him up. Speaking of friends of the show who are selling things, we have the infamous Nama Potter. Has a couple of pipes left for sale. Very few left, so if you want one, make sure you hit her up. Nama, NAMA_Potter on Instagram. I don't know how Grateful met her, but he introduced me to her. But yeah, she does amazing work, so even if you don't plan on purchasing anything, definitely follow her on Instagram and check out all the cool shit she's doing. She also made the mugs for the Your Average Grow drop that happened this past weekend. That was pretty cool. I didn't participate, but I went into the group chat because I'm a bitch for group chats. I'm a pretty clingy friend, and I love texting. So I always tell people, I'm if I'm being annoying, tell me, because I can't tell. But I love jumping in the group chats and DMing people and texting people. So yeah, I was in that. It went really well. It was awesome. All the mugs looked so amazing, all the different types of them. But yeah, make sure you go check her out. All right, so for our topic for this week, I wanted to talk about drug use and sobriety, which isn't really a cannabis growing topic, but it is aligned. It's in the same general area, I guess. But one thing I've noticed since joining the cannabis growing community is how many people use cannabis to get off of harder drugs or get off of alcohol, or even just outside of cannabis, how the growing process really helps you kind of take inventory of your own physical and mental health, and it causes a lot of people to become healthier, myself included. So I kind of just wanted to open up a little bit and tell you a little bit about my relationship with drugs and how I'm currently attempting to change them. So I do have alcoholics and drug addicts in my family, and obviously there is a genetic component to alcoholism and drug use as a disease. My personal view on it is a bit torn because I tend to look at society a lot more, right? Where you find that people who have really hard drug addictions also don't have the best lives. And a lot of people think it's like, oh, you get addicted to drugs, ruin your life, and then you're stuck at the bottom. But in my experience, a lot of the drug users are people who started at the bottom. No? We don't have a Drake clip? Okay. Sorry. Speaking of, where's that Kendrick diss track? Shit. We're waiting on that shit. But yeah, I feel like if you are on the lower rungs of society, drug addiction hits you a lot harder, controls you a lot harder. We also have seen this in studies, like the famous rat park, I think it was called, study, where you had rats were given access to drugs, and the rats that were just in the cage by themselves used drugs a lot more than rats that were given food and mates and toys and all of that. All of that to say, while I do understand that there is a genetic component to addiction, I think a big part of it is where you fit into society, combined with your family life, your support system, your self-esteem, and all of that. So personally, I don't think I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict, but I feel it inside of me, if that makes sense. Kind of like what Shane Gillis said, where he's like, I don't have Down syndrome, but it nicked me, right? That's kind of how I feel about alcoholism and drug abuse. Like, it nicked me. I could feel the pull on myself. Maybe in my younger days, when getting very drunk was more socially acceptable, in your teens and 20s. But I don't really act on it ever, but I do feel it. So one of my goals for this year is this is going to sound funny after what I just said, but one of my goals this year is to stop drinking regularly. So over the course of my life, like since I started using cannabis and alcohol, I've never really done much outside of that. Maybe try, experiment with something here and there, but nothing crazy. But since I started using drugs, drinking at parties and stuff, I do it less and less every year. And I'll go through phases. But yeah, especially since becoming a father, and you guys all know I'm a very productive person, so I don't have time to be getting blacked out. My schedule does not allow for that. So yeah, as I've matured and as I've gotten older, I do less drugs. And it just happens naturally, and it's not something I've ever really thought about until recently. And recently, like over the past year, probably since I started growing, and I like I said before, having all this health benefit kind of stuff in my mind, where I'm like trying to perfectly grow these plants to give them the healthiest life ever, then I'm still eating like 12 hot dogs a day. So I've been kind of having those feelings like over the past year, where it's like, specifically with alcohol, I'm not even actively weaning myself off of it, but my life isn't progressing to the point where I'm using the amount of alcohol that kind of matches up with my lifestyle. I feel like at this point I'm drinking slightly more than what my lifestyle can handle. So one of my goals for this year is to cut back on that. And I feel like I have a weird way of using alcohol, so I wanted to tell you about that, and maybe you guys can see if I'm crazy or not. All right, so this is my favorite thing to do, just in my daily routine. Obviously, not like spending time with my family or making the podcast for you guys. I obviously like love those things way more, but the favorite part of my daily routine is I will get out of work. I'll put a movie on for the little one, only for like a half hour. A lot of times he watches YouTube, but usually when I get out of work, he's waking up from his nap, so he wants 20 minutes to be by himself, and I want 20 minutes to be by myself, so we just part ways. I watch him on the baby monitor, obviously, but we take a little 20-minute break just to prepare for whatever we're going to do that evening, just to give ourselves a little gap right there. So my favorite thing to do is I'll smoke half a joint, and then I'll go out into the garage, and I'll drink a beer and smoke a black and mild. I love black and mild jazz specifically. I know everyone likes wine, but wine was never my favorite. I always liked jazz the best. So I got half a joint in me. I'm sipping on a beer, smoking a black and mild. Black and mild takes me about 20 minutes to smoke. So by the time it's done, it's time to go play outside, make dinner, all of that. And while I'm smoking and drinking, I like to pace around like in a circle, usually in my garage. And I kind of decompress my whole day. All of us, especially with the internet and streaming services and our jobs and everything being digital, we just have an insane amount of information thrown at us at any given time. My brain can't handle all of it as much as I would love it to, because I'm like a chronically online person, you know? So I need those like 20 minutes to just like, I basically talk to myself. Or my favorite thing to do is I pretend that someone else asked me a question and then I think about how I would respond to that question. I do it for the podcast a lot too. I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk about this topic for the week on the podcast. And then when I'm pacing around in the garage, I will pretend that I'm recording and say it out loud. That way, by the time I actually go to record, I know what I'm talking about. Or I at least had like a dry run at it, you know? But it really helps me organize my thoughts and kind of just decompress just for those 20 minutes. But here's the thing, I'm 35 years old, and I don't know about you, but even spending 20 minutes drinking a tall boy is still enough to like wreck my stomach, feel groggy the next morning. I'm fat, you know, empty calories. And that's really what's been bugging me. It's not even the drug itself, because I'm not even getting to the point where I'm getting drunk. But that beer is like part of the routine of decompressing from my day, getting ready for the evening, compiling all my thoughts, getting my to-do list up to date. Like there's a lot of things I do when I have that beer. And the other thing is like I'm big on caffeine and nicotine. I quit smoking cigarettes years ago. Now I use Zyn and then I'll have the black and mild, right? So I'm still smoking regularly, but I'm not smoking all day long. It's just that, like I said, that 1 20-minute period. But yeah, doing uppers all day, like that one beer helps bring me back down the base level a little bit. And also, just to clarify so there's no doubt, I don't drink and drive. I don't even use cannabis and drive. I don't use cannabis at work. I don't drink at work. I don't black out. I do get drunk on occasion, like if it's a Saturday night, my wife and I are having drinks. But day to day, I'm not getting drunk. Like I said, I am getting tired of the groggy mornings, the stomach aches, the excess weight on my body. So I'm at this point where I'm at a crossroads with alcohol, where from a societal perspective, it's not that bad, right? Because I have a job, a family, a house. I'm a very responsible person. I'm not drinking and then making dangerous or risky behaviors or risky choices. And I'm not even using enough alcohol to really get intoxicated. I mean, don't get me wrong, like a beer or two while smoking a joint, it definitely amplifies the cannabis effect, right? But it's not something that I feel like is super problematic. However, I am having the secondary negative side effects like weight, GI issues, sleep issues, etc. And as I'm sure you've noticed, my alcohol and tobacco use are directly tied in, which is why I told you about the whole like 20-minute window decompression thing. The beer and the black and mild are part of my daily mental health routine, essentially. So that's kind of where I'm getting this weird contradiction where it's like I said, I love pacing around the garage talking to myself when I'm high. It's one of the most relieving parts of my day. So I'm at this point where I have mental health maintenance that works for me. However, I also add these two other drugs into the mix. And it's nothing I really feel shame about. Alcohol is a very common drug, right? Everybody uses it. I don't really have problems with it. But I am at the point where I'm like, I would rather just have the mental health maintenance and not not have to pair it with a stomach ache and a sore throat, you know? So I'm at this crossroads and I'm doing my best to ease myself out of it. I'm not really a cold turkey person. I like to develop my habits over time. And yeah, I really just wanted to share this piece of my life with you, both to hold myself more accountable, because now you all know what I'm going through. And also, you know, just almost like as a point of community or empathy or compassion is like, I've seen a lot of you tell your stories as well. And it's been really motivating and helpful for me. And I'm really happy that a lot of you have improved your lives. And I hope to be up there with you. So just to round it off, I want to tell you some of the strategies that I currently use and that I would like to use in the future. And also to give you like I guess my first update. So I had an app on my phone that was like a habit tracker app, and I would just check off any days where I didn't drink. Yeah, like I was able to decrease my drinking by like 75% ish. So a couple of years ago, especially before I was a father, my wife and I were drinking like 240s a night each kind of thing. And we were still, we were in our mid to late 20s. We go out to bars with people and have drinks at the house all the time and stuff. But we don't really have that lifestyle anymore. Being incredibly busy parents, our alcohol consumption is just to wind down during dinner kind of thing. So yeah, I have drastically decreased my alcohol consumption. So I want to say like I was at maybe like 40 drinks a week or something. And now I'm much lower than that. I'm probably closer to like 15. But yeah, I find that I'm a very digital person. So I find that apps help me a lot, especially for holding myself accountable and keeping track of everything, keeping track of the data. So another strategy I've been using is to try to replace the beer with another weird drink. Like I said, I'm not really getting super fucked up, but sometimes I just want a special drink after work. So I've been trying to do like seltzers or hot cocoa or coffee, kombucha. I mean, kombucha technically has alcohol, but whatever. Like just having something that's like special, like a just for me kind of drink. So I've been doing that. I know a lot of people recommended seltzer because it has that kind of mixed drink bite to it without having alcohol in it. But I'm also not really a mixed drink guy. I like IPAs. Which that's the other fucked up thing, right? Like you go to the store and all the IPAs are like 7% or higher. So even though, oh yeah, I'm having 2 cans of beer, it's really like drinking 4, 3.5. So it's like, fuck that. But that's another strategy is to, when I do drink, go down to what they called session beers, where they're low alcohol, so you can just like drink them all day. Because I used to drink an IPA that was like 4%, and that was good because I can just have it as a drink kind of thing, not have to worry about getting fucked up. Another strategy is that I try to schedule running errands after work. Because like I said, I don't drink and drive, and I really don't drink outside of that small window after work, right? So if I can allot my time to something else, after it's over, I'm not like, oh my God, I got to get home and drink. It's just like, oh yeah, that didn't happen today, and that's fine. So I'll try to do like grocery shopping or errands or stuff during that window, because it's really a habit thing, right? Is I'm not craving the beer at the end of the day. I'm craving the pacing around the garage at the end of the day. I know, it sounds so fucking weird. I'm sorry. Another strategy is just reminding myself that cannabis is enough. Because one trend that I noticed is like, if I don't have any beer in the house, like I'm not going to break my back going to get it. And on days where that happens, I will smoke. And then like and half hour after smoking, I'm like, yeah, I'm good for the night. So I try to remind myself of that, just being like, if you smoke, you're good. You're fine. The next one is to find different mental health strategies that don't involve walking around and talking to myself. I mean, it works. There's nothing self-destructive about talking to yourself out loud to organize your thoughts. But maybe if I can find something that doesn't have the trigger of being in the garage using drugs. Another strategy is to bulk buy items that I would normally get at the gas station from the grocery store. My wife and I are big caffeine people, so I'm always running to the gas station for energy drinks and, all the little things we need. So if I'm going to the gas station to get caffeine, like I'm also just going to grab a beer and a cigar just out of habit. So finding less reasons to go to the gas station has been helpful. Also saves a lot more money. You go to the corner store and you're like, oh yeah, it's got an energy drink and a beer, and I'll grab, oh, they got muffins. Oh shit, they made bagels today. All right, so it helps my wallet a lot as well. Another thing I've been doing is trying to use cannabis less during the day. This mostly only applies to weekends and when I have days off, because like I said, I don't use cannabis while I'm working. But I did notice that the after work joint, or the end of the day joint, isn't as special if I've been blazing all day. Where like I want the beer to add that next level to it. And the last one is exercise, which is obviously 100% the correct answer if you've been listening to me this whole time. So my favorite exercise is swimming, but I don't really have easy access to a pool that I could do laps in. But my second favorite exercise is punching bag. From renovating the house over the winter, my garage was just filled with like wood scraps and all sorts of crap. But this past weekend, I spent like 6 hours pulling the entire garage apart, sorting everything into, dumpster, trash, recyclables, getting everything organized. And I'm at the point where I can actually use the punching bag again because it's not cluttered. So that's something I want to do as well. Because I could even go out into the garage for 20 minutes and do punching bags and talk to myself. And I could do it blazed as fuck. That actually sounds really good. I'm probably going to do that today. But yeah, I don't plan on necessarily going cold turkey. Just by using an app, I've been able to reduce my consumption by a lot. And I think by using the other strategies I just listed to you, I can probably get it down to bare minimum. But yeah, I feel very exposed and vulnerable now, but I hope you enjoyed it. Hit me up if you're interested in me giving updates as I go through this journey with myself, my little physical fitness, mental health journey. Obviously, this is a growing cannabis podcast, and discussions of sobriety are a bit of a buzzkill at times. But this is also my podcast, and I try to share a little insight into my own life with you. So yeah, hit me up. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any additional strategies, or if you want to talk about what you're going through, just let me know. And all right, to round it off, I've been rewatching Dexter, which I know, don't yell at me, I haven't finished Fallout. I got like 4 episodes left. Fallout I really want to pay attention to, and I haven't had the time the past couple weeks. I've had a lot of personal stuff going on, a lot of death the past 2 weeks. It really sucks. But I haven't had a lot of time where I can just watch TV. So whenever I watch TV, it's while I'm like cleaning the house or doing running errands. I'll listen to TV in the car, listen to YouTube in the car, kind of thing. So I kind of put down Fallout for a minute just until I have enough free time to watch it correctly, give it the attention it deserves. I really like it so far. So kind of just in the background all week, I've had Dexter on, and Dexter is one of my all-time favorite TV shows. As you can probably tell, or as I'm sure I've stated before, I love anti-hero dramas and I love dark dramas. For me, Dexter falls into the same category as Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, Sopranos. I don't think Dexter's as good as Breaking Bad and Sopranos, but I feel like it falls into that same kind of TV niche. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the show, Dexter is a show that was on Showtime. It ran for 8 seasons, and then it came back years later for a redoing the finale season because people really didn't like the series finale of the show. I thought it was a cool idea, not to give any spoilers, but I thought the finale was a cool idea. They just didn't execute it properly. But yeah, Dexter is based on a book series by a guy named Jeff Lindsay, and I read the first book, and I'm not a huge fan of his writing style. The only reason why I would continue with the books in the future is to just kind of expand my knowledge of the lore and the canon of Dexter. But I wasn't a huge fan of the first novel. I also picked up, they started turning, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they started turning the novels into a comic book series. And I think I have the first or second issue of it that I read. And that was cool. Having the visual element, I think definitely helps with Dexter. Also, if you're a big fan of the show You on Netflix, I think you would also really like Dexter. You is like Dexter plus romance, right? Because of the whole basis of Joe being a serial killer is falling in love with women. But it has the same kind of murder mystery where the protagonist is the serial killer and you get the like witty internal monologue kind of thing. I think the show You took a lot of tips from Dexter because I feel like the styles of the show are very similar. But with all that said, Dexter Morgan is a blood spatter analyst for Miami Metro Homicide, and he also moonlights as a serial killer. However, he only kills people who have escaped the law, where, if there's a typo in an evidence package or something, and then the whole court case gets overturned, even though the guy clearly was a murderer, Dexter will go out and gack that dude. And, after all the court stuff is settled down. And that's really the charm of the show, is that even though he's a serial killer and he's a psychopath, sociopath, whatever you want to label him as, he's still like a charming, nice guy. He's kind of like shy, nerdy guy. So he's very easy to relate to. He's very easy to root for. And yeah, it's just like it's a fun ride. Usually every season he goes up against another big serial killer, and there's So on top of him trying to evade the police, there's like a whole cat and mouse thing that happens with another serial killer. And the serial killers can go from like normal people to like really outrageous, like John Wayne Gacy kind of characters, you know? Which I mean, this show's old as fuck, so I'm sure you guys are already familiar, but just in case someone had never watched it or heard of it, I wanted to give a little bit of an explanation. I'm not going to give any spoilers other than probably minor spoilers, but I'm not going to like tell you how the whole show works or anything. So I've been rewatching Dexter this week, and I actually skipped season 1. I feel like just because I've seen it so many times, it's not super exciting for me. So I started with season 2, which if you haven't seen the show, in season 2, instead of there being a big bad serial killer for Dexter to go after, it's Dexter gets discovered by the police. They don't know it's him, but they like find his bodies basically. So the whole season is him trying to navigate how to not get caught. And it's really crazy that the show went on for 8 seasons. And obviously, if you ask 10 people to write a show about a serial killer, him getting discovered by the police station he works for would probably be the last season, right? Because that would be a natural conclusion to the story. But they did the shit in season 2. Come on. So it's really wild. It's really cool though. But what I really wanted to talk about is I mostly spent this week watching season 3. In season 3, the basic premise is that there's a district attorney. He ends up discovering what Dexter does, but he's like cool with it. And then it's a whole thing of like, can a serial killer be friends with someone who knows their secret kind of thing? So that all plays out, and there's a whole back and forth thing. It's really cool. If you haven't watched it, the DA is played by Jimmy Smith, which is awesome. He's great. Also, if you haven't seen the show, in season 4, the big bad guy is played by John Lithgow, which is hilarious because you're used to seeing him in like comedy roles. So seeing him as like this brutal serial killer is amazing. It's most people's favorite season, and a lot of people will actually say that the quality of the show drops off after season 4. I do think that's the case, especially since like season 4 kind of feels like it should have been the end of the show, maybe, or maybe one more season to wrap up after that. But the back half of the show has a lot of amazing stuff in it as well. It's not like once season 5 starts, it's garbage. There's still a lot of really cool stuff in it. And also, like I said, there is a 9th season. It's technically a spin-off show called Dexter New Blood, and it's like a where are they now 10 years later kind of thing, and it gives the creators a second shot at the infamous ending. Because like Dexter had a really, really big fan base when it was on, and the final episode of the show pissed so many people off, where finally they're like, all right, let's do it again. And then a lot of people, I was fine with the way New Blood ended, but a lot of people were like, how are you gonna botch the ending twice in a row? But yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's just a great show. It's one of my favorites, even though there are weak moments. I mean, every show has weak moments, right? Honestly, I wasn't even a huge fan. I know everyone else loved it. I wasn't a huge fan of the final episode of Breaking Bad. It was conclusive enough, but I felt like it wasn't like thematically conclusive enough. I don't know. Without getting into Breaking Bad spoilers, it's hard to explain what I mean. But if you want to know what I mean, you can DM me. All right, y'all. I feel like this is going to be a longer one than usual, so I'm going to let y'all go. And yeah, we got the 4x4 up and running. I'm trying to cut back on the brewskis, and we're rewatching Dexter. All right, until next week, peace, y'all.